Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you've been following along with me, my friends and I spent 3 weeks traveling around the Philippines. We went to the islands of Bohol, Malapascua, and Leyte. I made an individual video for each one of those islands, so if you want to go check those out, they're on my channel. But today I'm going to give you guys kind of an overview about the entire trip. I'll share with you guys some of the logistics of planning and also some of the behind the scenes bits of information that all went into planning this trip. I'm going to break down things like where exactly we stayed, how much it cost for accommodation, how we got from island to island and the cost of that, also food, activities to do, which companies we booked with, and also the things that we wish we could have done while we were in the Philippines, but either didn't know about it at the time or we didn't have enough time to fit it into our schedule. So the first island that I'm going to talk about is the island of Bohol. This was our first island that we went to. And I think as far as land activities, this was my favorite island that we went to. But before I get into the logistics of things, here is a little clip about our time in Bohol. Okay, so if you haven't seen the full video of my time in Bohol, I'm going to link it right here so you can watch the full version of everything that we did while we were there. Alright, so first thing I'm going to start with is how we got to Bohol. Because I was coming in from Thailand, I flew from Bangkok all the way to the island of Cebu. I met my friend Jordy there and then we stayed one night in this hotel called Red Doors. Red Doors seems to be a very cheap hotel company all throughout the Philippines, but they still cost anywhere between $15 to $20 a night. The next day then we took the ferry from Cebu City to Bohol. You can fly directly to Bohol. There's a small island that's connected to a bridge right next to Bohol. It's called Panglao, and they do have their own airport there, so you can fly directly into there, but for us it was more expensive to fly into that airport. We saved a lot of money by flying into Cebu and then taking the ferry. We did not stay on Panglao. We stayed in the main city called Tagbilaran. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. The cost of the journey to get there, not including the flight from Bangkok to Cebu, the ferry ticket was about $7.50. Then there was also an entry fee to the port, which was about 25 cents per person. And then also if you have a bag to check, it's another $3.50 per bag. One thing that I will note about the ferry schedule and the bus schedule in the Philippines is it is very difficult to find online. It's not super reliable booking online because either it shows that no ferries are going out or it shows the tickets are very, very expensive. And so it's very difficult to plan that in advance, which can be kind of stressful when you're booking accommodation, being like, okay, I hope that I can get to this island, but it all depends if there's a ferry going that day at the correct time, things like that. The best thing to do is right when you arrive into the city, go to the port and check the ferry schedule. You can buy the tickets in advance usually, but it just has to be in person. If you do want to check online, usually the best site to go to is 12go.asia. Sometimes they do have ferries listed and buses listed where you can buy the tickets in advance, but again, that's kind of rare, we found. Okay, so our stay in Bohol. We stayed in another Red Doors. This one cost us around $15 a night. We did all of our bookings for hotels on either AirAsia or Agoda. Usually AirAsia has some discounts, and I think Agoda is like Asia's booking.com version. So usually things are quite cheap on there as well. We just went on and we filtered by price lowest first, and usually the red doors is one of the first to pop up. That being said, $15 a night for a room is quite expensive. It's much more expensive than we were thinking. And we found that this was kind of consistent through our entire time in the Philippines, was that accommodation was on a little bit of the pricey side for the type of room that we were getting. For transportation, you have a couple options. You can rent a motorbike, or you can get around by taxi or tricycle. Personally, I recommend, if you feel comfortable driving a motorbike, I think that is the best way to go, honestly. It provides you a lot of freedom on your trips so that you can go wherever, whenever you want to, and the price is very cheap. We paid about $5 a day for our motorbike. I shall say that that is a haggled price. So Jordy is very, very good at haggling prices, and so I let him do the whole thing. He got it down to about $5 per day. Usually I think they run anywhere from like $6 to $10 a day. Also, some of the activities to do in Bohol are kind of a long ways away from Panglao, and so if you take a taxi or a tricycle there, the price can add up very, very quickly. If you do choose to ride a motorbike, make sure that you drive very carefully, research the rules of the road before you go. Also, of course, always wear a helmet. For the food in Bohol, I thought it was great. There was a lot of variety. In the city where we stayed, there was really a lot of everything. You could get local food, and then also if you were wanting some more Western food, there was a lot of options as well. We found that typically we paid between $4 and $5 per person per meal. I should also mention that all the prices that I'm giving are in US dollars, because I think that's where a lot of my subscribers are from. But the currency in the Philippines is pesos. They do not accept American money. If you're staying on the island of Panglao, there's also a ton of different food options. There are also some vegetarian restaurants that we went to. So on Panglao, you'll have no problem finding vegetarian or vegan options. One food recommendation that I have is called Tamper's Coffee and Brunch. I went there almost every single day. Because I've been working, posting on social media, things like that, I need good Wi-Fi. And at my hotel, the Wi-Fi was very poor. So I went to this place one time, fell in love with it, and then went back every single day. The food is so good. The atmosphere is really cute. They have great Wi-Fi. It was just an awesome place. As far as activities, the two main activities that we did while we were there was first going to see the tarsiers. These are little tiny lemurs, and there's a conservation area for them up in the mountains of Bohol. It's about a $2 entry fee, and it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting like an open area where you go around and you try and spot the tarsiers from below, but really it was a very small loop that you could walk around, and the tarsiers are sleeping during the day. They're very sensitive to light. They're very fragile creatures. I have found that they can get very anxious very quickly. And so basically wherever there was a tarsier, there was a worker right next to it to ensure that people weren't harassing them. To get to the Tarsier Conservation Area, it was a 55-minute bike ride from the city of Tagbilaran. If you're staying in Panglao, it goes up to be about an hour and 10 minutes away. On our way back down from the mountains, we took a different route so that we could hit a waterfall on the way back. The one that we went to was called Incumin Falls. Again, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but let me know if I'm not. For this one, it was $1 to park our motorbikes there, and then we also gave a tip to the local who showed us to the waterfall and showed us like how to climb up the cliff to go jump off, things like that. He was really, really helpful. If you're going straight to the waterfall from Panglao, it's about an hour and 15 minutes or so. Some of the other things that we wish we could have done while we were there was seeing the Chocolate Hills. This is just a really nice viewpoint where you can go up to the mountains, and it's just like a viewpoint that overlooks all of Bohol, and you can see all these rolling hills. It looks very pretty in the pictures. The other thing that we really wish we would have done while we were there is going scuba diving. We did not realize that the scuba diving in Bohol was as amazing as it was, but after we left, everyone that we had talked to said, "Oh, did you guys go scuba diving there? It's amazing, it's incredible, it's some of the best in the Philippines." So we didn't end up doing that. So if you go to Bohol, make sure you book a scuba diving trip. Okay, now moving on to Malapascua. The main purpose of us going to the island of Malapascua was simply diving with thresher sharks. There's not a whole lot else to do on this island if you're not a scuba diver. Thresher sharks are about 3 meters in length, that's almost 10 feet long, and have really long tails that they use like whips to hunt their food. Each day they come up to a shallow shoal area to get cleaned by all the small cleaner fish, and so that's when we are able to go diving with them. And these sharks are very nice. They are not a threat to divers unless you are actually going and provoking them, of course. So again, before I get started, I'm going to show you guys just a small clip of our time swimming with the thresher sharks. Okay, so again, if you have not seen my full video of our time in Malapascua, I'm going to link it right here, so go ahead and take a look. So we're going to start with how we got there. So we were starting on the island of Bohol and had to get all the way up to Malapascua. So first, at 6 a.m., we had to take a 2-hour-long ferry from Bohol all the way back to Cebu City, and that ferry cost us about $11.50 total. Then from there, we had to take a 5-hour bus from Cebu City all the way up to the northern side, which is Maya Port. I should mention there are 2 types of buses that go from Cebu City to Maya Port, and basically it's either you choose between an air-conditioned bus or a non-air-conditioned bus. We chose the air-conditioned bus just because thinking about spending 5 hours in a non-air-conditioned bus seems like torture. But actually, later on in our trip, we took a no air-conditioned bus, and it actually was 10 times better. You had a constant flow of air coming in. The non-air-conditioned buses don't make all the stops like the air-conditioned buses do, and so it's typically like an hour to an hour and a half shorter, actually. So I would highly recommend, even though it sounds kind of scary, take the non-air conditioned bus if you're going up to Malapascua. Plus, they're cheaper as well. Once we got up to Maya Port, we then had to take a small boat from the port, then all the way to Malapascua. It took about an hour just because the waves were kind of choppy. Apparently, normally when the sea is good, it takes about a half hour. This boat cost us around $3.50 for the tickets, and then each of our bags was another $3.50. So the total of our trip from Bohol to Malapascua ended up being $26. So not bad. The island of Malapascua is so tiny. It takes about 15 minutes to walk from the left side of the island to the right side, and like a half hour to get from the bottom to the top. So that leads me into the transportation on the island, which is simply walking. There's one paved road that goes all the way through the island, and a lot of the locals do have motorbikes that they use. It is considered a road, but it is more like a large sidewalk. The hotel that we stayed in while we were there was called the Malapascua Diva Inn, and it was about $13.50 per night, and it was very close to the market center, which is like the center of everything happening on the island. There are some luxury hotels on the island as well, but of course you're going to have to pay quite a bit more. Also, a very important thing that we almost had to learn the hard way was to bring a lot of cash. Nowhere on this island accepts any credit cards, and the ATMs are hit and miss. I went to like 5 of the 8 ATMs on the island, and only one of those was actually working. It's such a small island that as soon as the money is gone out of the ATM, it doesn't get refilled until maybe, a few days later, until they have a boat come to restock it. And so make sure you take out money while you're in the main city, like Cebu City, because there's no ATMs when you get to Maya Port, and there's very spotty ATMs on Malapascua. For the food on Malapascua, the options were quite limited. There's a marketplace right in the center of all the hotels. They have a lot of local food. The Philippines does have very, very good barbecued food. So like the barbecued chicken was great. They have a lot of barbecued food and rice. If you're looking for something different on Malapascua, you can go to a lot of the dive centers. A lot of them have their own restaurant attached to them, and they typically will serve more Western food for you. The typical price that we spent again was around $5 per meal. And I will reiterate again, the activities on the island are really, really based around things in the ocean. The dive company that we went with was called Evolution, and they were a great company. We spent around $85 for our thresher shark dives. We went on 2 dives back to back with them, and that price includes gear, nitrox, and the marine park fees. Just a note for you guys, if you do go diving, double check which dive site you're going to. There are 2 main ones that they go dive with the thresher sharks. The first one is Kimud Shoal, and that's the most popular one. And there's also another one called Kimud Shoal. When we went there, they were saying that they hadn't seen any of the thresher sharks at Kimud Shoal for a couple days, so we ended up going to the other one. And for Kimud Shoal, we stayed at about 12 to 20 meters the entire time, so there was really no need for our nitrox at all, and so that was just an extra cost that we really didn't need. I think, however, Kimud Shoal is deeper, so just double check which one you're going to see if you need nitrox or not. Another activity that we did while we were there was snorkeling with baby blacktip reef sharks at Sunset Beach. They're there all day, and they're like a meter long max. They're so cute and again, not a danger to you as long as you are not harassing them. Okay, and finally, our last destination was the island of Leyte. We were going down to a small town at the very, very south of Leyte called Padre Burgos. And our main purpose for coming to this island was to swim with the whale sharks. So I've saved the best for last. It took me 3 years to find these things and 4 different countries. So here is a video of us swimming with the whale sharks. That was an amazing experience. So if you want to check out the full video of us swimming with the whale sharks, I'm going to link it right here for you guys. You can check it out. Okay, now the logistics. So we started in Malapascua and we had to get all the way down to the southern part of Leyte. So first we had to take the boat back from Malapascua to Maya Port. Again, that cost around $7. And then we had to take a bus from Maya Port all the way down to a different port in Bohol City. We took the non-AC bus this time. It was cheap. It was only $3 and also it was a much more comfortable ride actually. Then we went from Bohol City to Palampon on Leyte, and that cost us around $5.50 each. From then, we took another bus all the way down to the city of Ormoc. That bus cost us $4. We stayed the night in another Red Doors hotel while we were in Ormoc. That cost us about $20. Then we headed from Ormoc all the way down to Padre Burgos, and that cost around $7. In between the bus rides, we did have to take a few tricycle rides. I would say in total, we spent around $5 on the tricycles. So total of transportation coming from Malapascua to Padre Burgos was around $31.50. We found an Airbnb for $50 a night and split that between 4 people. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot of cheap options of places to stay in Padre Burgos. Your other options are to stay in dive resorts. For the transportation, we did rent motorbikes again. It came to about $6.50 per day, but we found out later that it was very rare that we were actually able to get some motorbikes because Padre Burgos is so small. There's not a whole lot of tourists there, and because of that, the cost of upkeeping the motorbikes really outweighs what they actually make from renting the bikes out. We were very lucky because our Airbnb owner knew someone who was renting out bikes, and so we were able to rent through them. The food options in Padre Burgos, we went to a few restaurants on our first day, and they said, sorry, we don't have any food today. So most days we went to street vendors and got either fried chicken or rotisserie chicken with rice. There was a few fruit and vegetable stands that we were able to buy some produce from and make some small meals. But other than that, the only places to really eat were at the dive shop restaurants. And even then, a few of the restaurants wouldn't even serve us because we weren't staying at their hotel. So with all that being said, I think I do recommend actually spending a little bit more money and staying in a dive resort. It'll just make everything much, much easier if you're going down to Padre Burgos. So for the activities, obviously you guys know snorkeling with whale sharks is like top of the list of things to do there. We went with a company called Southern Leyte Divers and they were great. I do highly recommend that company. The snorkel trip, however, was very expensive. It was about $73 per person. The whale sharks that we swam with were just babies. They were around 6 to 8 meters long, which is like 20 to 26 feet. And so you think how big that is, and these are just babies. Some people in the comments of my video about Leyte were asking, since I was in Cebu already, why didn't I just go to Oslob, which is in the south, and go snorkeling with the whale sharks there. The reason why there are whale sharks there all the time is because they feed them, and that's just not right to me. Whale sharks are supposed to migrate, and if for whatever reason these companies stop feeding the whale sharks, these whale sharks are not going to know what to do. So I did not want to support a company like that. I wanted to go with a company that goes and finds the whale sharks in their natural habitat. While you're in Padre Burgos, you can also go scuba diving. I personally did not go scuba diving while I was here because my wallet was hurting quite a bit from the price of the snorkeling. My friends did go scuba diving, and they said that the colors and the reef was just amazing, so colorful, so full of life, and really, really worth it. So in conclusion, the Philippines was amazing. There's so many things to do, and just the concentration of things that are so difficult to find in other parts of the world are just all in the Philippines. I will note that it is kind of difficult for digital nomads who are really reliant on good Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi all throughout the Philippines was quite spotty and made it quite stressful for me sometimes because I was unable to upload a lot of content. And also it can be quite difficult for solo travelers who are not on a timeline, basically just wanting to go to the Philippines and island hop without really a plan in mind. Plane tickets get extremely expensive the closer you get to the departure date. We really wanted to go to El Nido and Coron, but the plane tickets to get over there were nearly $200. We tried to look up the ferry schedule. They did say that there's usually a ferry that goes from Manila to Coron, but that it only runs on Fridays, which didn't work with our schedule. And that one is an overnight ferry. I've heard that they're very uncomfortable. They are cheap, but for a reason. So I would recommend for any solo travelers, have a plan in mind before going to the Philippines. Book plane tickets before if you're planning to travel from island to island so you can still get the tickets while they're cheap. So guys, that is it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you're planning a trip to the Philippines, let me know in the comments if there's anything that I missed or anything that you want to know. You can always check out some of my travel tips on my blog. It's www.adventuringwithclaire.com, or you can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's just at Adventuring with Claire for additional travel content. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next week.